Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight. I'm your host, Alexis, and I'm joined by David Francisco and Peter Martinez. This is the show that brings
Not my real name.
Okay. This is the show that brings you everything coming out of the world of movies. And you've been on this show for like, what, since 2015?
I know, that's why it's a joke.
It's okay. It's like, Jesus Christ. This is the show that brings you everything coming out of the world of movies and more. And we've got a lot today. We've actually discussing the brand new film Wonka, the latest by Paul King and Timothee Chalamet, which will include a discussion of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the whole history of that, the Paddington films themselves. And then also the news that has happened this week, some brand new trailers from Kung Fu Panda, Alex Garland, and more. And of course, some people got fired, it looks like. All that here on Red Spotlight number 466. A couple of things to mention off of the top. So, man, the other day, I had one of the best days I've had in a long time. I treated myself to a wonderful double feature of films that I had already seen before, but I had been itching to see both of them again, and I did. So this past Sunday, I ended up timing perfectly. As soon as one finished, the other one began. I ended up seeing for round 3, Boy and the Heron, and round 2, Wonka. Did those back to back, and let me tell you something, you wouldn't think those films pair well with each other, but I don't know, there's just this feeling when you see good movies back to back, especially when they're like that different. And as far as Boy and the Heron is concerned, I'm happy to say that the third time around, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of the things that I kind of wasn't seeing before the hand. One of the things that I guess, and I've heard also others discuss this too. One of the things that we were all confused about, we're not confused, well, maybe a little bit, but maybe not necessarily, it wasn't stated. The idea that Lady Himi, that's the girl with the fire powers, was a younger version of his mom. I guess we were supposed to clock that when she was introduced and she was burning those pelicans, the visual imagery of her being surrounded in fire was supposed to be our like maybe clue and slash confirmation that was the mom, because when the only time we ever see the mom, aside from the moment that the heron recreates her, is in that dream sequence where Mahito runs in to save her, and that's how he sees her and everything. And to me, the third time around, and now kind of knowing where things are in that sequence, especially when they're eating with each other before they go off into the kingdom of the parakeets, kind of clicks more so. And even that climactic moment when the grand uncle was making that offer to Mahito, I guess we're going to use the accent when we say that name all the time. Jesus Christ. But it's growing on me a lot, I gotta say. I liked it a lot the first time, but and one other thing I wanted to mention, I guess it went without say, but I saw somebody else actually make this wonderful analysis of the film, is that with this one and also with Wind Rises, Miyazaki just kind of like dispensed with like at least the first like third of the film, or the first third of the film, like he's not necessarily holding your hand for the kids. And I can understand, like, for the little ones, they may test their patience with this one, because I know that with Boy and the Heron especially, there's a lot of like quiet, intimate moments where not much really of anything is happening, because we kind of go back and forth from the garden to the lake to back to the room. There are like, I think 2 or 3 times where Mahito ends up back in his room after either fainting or something happens. And I think for the little ones, this might not, and I mean, even for some of the bigger ones, it's not the most accessible film to begin with. But I gotta say, as where I'm at in my stage of life right now, I think I just appreciate the whole willingness of him just opening the film and making it feel as quiet and intimate. The one downside, though, is when it's so quiet and you're in a theater and there's a loud movie playing next door, it's going to be distracting. And it was distracting because when I was watching it again this past weekend, Godzilla -1 was playing next door, and I heard the bomb, bomb, like the Godzilla main theme just blaring all the while. I'm trying to watch like Makito like just quietly walk across, I don't know, the house or the forest. That's a bit of a downside.
That's
when you're
like
trying
the
to
most Japanese moment of your life right there.
That's technically pretty true. So yeah, if you get I don't know when they'll release the film on a disc, whenever, or even digitally. I'll buy it, and I just think this is the kind of film that if you'd like, you can watch it more times and maybe get more out of it. And even now, I mean, again, I've been listening to Joe Hisayashi's score nonstop, and I'm just like even clocking the moments when I'm hearing the music. Oh, this is when this happens. This is the music when Makito takes a fucking rock and like smashes it against his head, which was a pretty grotesque.
Very, very Sigma move.
Mm-hmm. So that's Boy and the Heron. And you know, I want to take this moment to say something about Miyazaki. How do we feel about Totoro? Because I feel like I'm like,
you're the only one who fucking hates it.
I don't fucking hate Totoro. I enjoyed the film. He hasn't made a bad movie, Miyazaki, but I did think for me, that film did the least out of all of the films that he's made for me.
I love it.
Explain it. And not that I'm saying explain yourself.
Explain why My Neighbor Totoro is a good
what
film.
What am I missing with it? I mean, I understand all the things people... Okay. Okay. Sure. Is Totoro your guys' favorites, or is it top 5 Miyazaki? Basically, is what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Miyazaki maybe, but in all like Ghibli, nah.
For me, yeah.
What about it speaks to you?
It's innocence.
That's it.
That's a one-word response right there.
Yeah, I mean that's really all it is, though. Too, it's just all fun.
Chill now, David. Okay.
Okay.
You used up your one word. Oh my God! Continue, David.
No, yeah, but I mean, like I said, like it is just an innocent movie. It's kids having fun. Maybe they're imagining this. Maybe they're not. I doubt it. But yeah, it's just kind of kids coping through some kind of weird experience, I guess. Yeah.
No, it's just that was a wonderful podcast over the weekend, and everyone had Totoro in the top 5, and I'm like, what am I missing here? And then only one person had Porco Rosso in their top 5.
See, that's where I disagree. I think Porco Rosso is an easy top 5. I love Porco Rosso,
and yet it somehow always seems to be forgotten about.
It's like the most overlooked, I think, Ghibli film.
Is it perhaps because its protagonist is a middle-aged pig?
Maybe. Not any like cute little anime kid characters or.
But also, I mean,
romance.
The big ones like Mononoke and
Spirited Away,
Kiki's Delivery Service. You know, most of those ones were shown on TV. You know, when people were
more
kids.
often than
There was a lot of Kikis.
I don't remember Porco Rosso.
House Moving Castle for sure.
That one, because that one came out. You know, people have a complicated relationship with Howl's Moving Castle. Do you guys understand why people don't necessarily vibe with that movie?
9/11?
I mean, sure. That wasn't what I was expecting you to say, but if that's a reason, I'm sure it is in there somewhere. But I'm asking you because when I watched Howl's Moving Castle, to me, it ended up feeling like one of the most charming of his movies. I think they're all charming, like easily so. But that one, to me, I don't know what it was about it, but it's kind of
weird. I guess it was somewhat mixed when it came out.
Yeah,
but at this point, I feel like it's considered like one of the top 3 by most people. I think most people, they're talking top, they're saying Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away,
Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke, and like
and then maybe Totoro.
Totoro. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's 99% of people's top
Mhm.
Miyazaki.
But then also, I think for Howl's Moving Castle, I think people are kind of mixed about it, only because, at least for me, when I saw it as a kid, I really don't remember the plot. It goes over my head. I'm like, wait, what happened in this movie? I just know this girl turns old. How does she break the curse? She just turns young somehow.
People were really
That
you
was
just
me and Kiki's.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I was
So,
like, what is this movie? Nothing's happening.
yeah,
She
for sure.
starting a business? Okay, like what?
imagine watching Boy in the Heron at that age.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
I'd probably love it actually.
I think a lot of people had a problem with this war that was going on in the background of Howl's Moving Castle, and people were critical that it wasn't like more highlighted.
That's the point.
Exactly.
Why do people want to see violence?
That's what, like
Seriously.
I said, 9/11. It directly influenced the film. Like,
right? No. It's just funny to say that without the context of it, Peter. That's what I'm saying, and I'm sure most people would know that was a response to 9/11 and everything. Okay. See. Very interesting stuff. Beautiful filmmaker. What was I gonna? Oh yeah. When are they gonna release these films in 4K, Peter? What's going on there?
I have no idea.
And one other thing to mention, it's really interesting because like the late 90s and the early 2000s, I think is like when the Miyazaki stuff really exploded here in the West. And as someone mentioned on the Big Picture podcast, it's really interesting that maybe two of the most people responsible for bringing Miyazaki to the West ended up being pretty shitty people. The first being Harvey Weinstein, and the second being John Lasseter. Because Harvey Weinstein, I believe, was in charge of the dubbing, right? Was it? He was in charge of something. Maybe the distribution. Maybe it might have been.
Was it for Princess Mononoke?
Yeah, his name did pop up on there, didn't it? When we watched the credits. Yeah,
it was Princess Mononoke. No, I think he was just in charge of U.S. distribution.
Because Disney did the dubbing
and he was
for a lot of
renowned
this.
for like cuts.
Right.
I remember Disney did the U.S. distribution for Ponyo.
And they produced. Yeah, you're right. They did release Ponyo, but am I not mistaken that
Joe Jonas on there?
What wasn't Disney in charge of the English dubbing for the films too?
They kind of owned like U.S. distribution for Studio Ghibli for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they tried to bring Ghibli under their Disney umbrella, like they did other things like the Muppets and shit like that. But it didn't work out.
And so they dropped it, or they went back to somebody else. And as someone mentioned a few weeks ago, it's pretty funny how it's kind of come full circle, where the latest Studio Ghibli film is kicking the ass of the latest Disney animated film.
Well, it's pretty sad because
for who?
Disney.
Yeah.
Obviously, because their new movie out is supposed to sort of like be a representation of their long and storied history, and it's fucking lame. And then you have this, The Boy and the Heron, which is arguably something similar, I would say. And it's a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the two side by side. It's pretty sad looking at what you get, especially when you look at the animation. Like, damn.
Yeah, and
Disney really lost it.
We talked about it a little bit last week, but we did mention alongside this, Trolls is in theaters, and Trolls is not doing as well. But to make the situation even sadder for Disney, Wish right now isn't even in the top 5 or 6. It's losing to both Boy and the Heron and Trolls. It's losing to a DreamWorks movie, Studio Ghibli movie. Has Disney ever been in a position like this before? Like they're kind of
This is their worst position in a decade.
over a decade and a half, I think, at this point. Like, what was the low point of the 2000s Disney? Chicken Little, Home on the Range?
Home on the Range, probably. Because I remember that one, no one saw that.
Except Roseanne.
No one.
Because she was in the movie.
Yeah, that was the end of it. That was kind of the end of Disney. And then they kind of like just relied almost entirely on Pixar. That kept them afloat. Again, they buy their competition to stay afloat. That's what they've been doing for a long time. Did it to Marvel, did it to Star Wars, because they were incapable of making anything on that level that could attract that kind of audience. So yeah, pretty sad.
Well, I mentioned the 4K because I would love to see, right now in the market, there's been a lot of stories that have come out of 2023 in regards to physical media. And to me, this has been the most eventful year for physical media in quite some time. But one of the stories that came out of that whole topic of subgenre or whatever was a latest Disney animated film collection, which I believe included 61 movies. I don't know if it included any others. I don't think it did. But it wasn't even a 4K. It was a Blu-ray collection, and I think it went on sale initially for what, $500? Is that what it was? Is that what it was?
I don't even remember. What are you talking about?
The Disney
collection? No,
yeah,
1,500. Yeah. I think they did the
Disney Plus at this point.
Yeah.
I think they did the math though. It came out to like $15 a movie, a Blu-ray.
How many movies though? It's only 60 some, isn't it?
They don't just have those. They also have like the Goofy movie.
Oh,
they had like they had other animated films that weren't strictly
Walt Disney Animation.
Like
Disney Toon Studios or all those other sub ones that they have underneath it. Okay.
Let me look up the.
Yeah, that was. But the connection that I was trying to make was it would be nice if they had one of those, but for Miyazaki's movies.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Do you?
4K?
Not 4K.
Okay.
Blu-ray, yeah.
All right. A whole collection in one like box set.
Do you want me to show you?
I've never seen that. Here we're gonna go on our phones now.
Jesus Christ!
Oh my God! Oh shit! Do you have it?
There's no way.
Does he? David, have you looked for this? I don't remember seeing anything on the market like this.
Oh.
When did you get that? What?
It says the Hayao Miyazaki collection.
Oh, okay.
The collected works of Hayao Miyazaki.
From, all the way up to Wind Rises. Oh wow!
All the way up to The Wind Rises.
Because at that point, it was the last movie. Oh my God! Okay.
This. Dang. Sorry for the audio listeners, but
I know. Yeah. Go to the video. We're just watching this wonderful presentation here.
Dang.
Of this beautiful collection of Miyazaki's movies. Oh my God.
That's cool.
Antonio. And The Wind Rises.
Did you ever show that to me? I never
Yes,
remember.
many times, you piece of shit.
I don't remember.
Exactly. It has this cool little film strip that goes around it.
When did you get it?
Like a year ago?
How much was it?
It's cheaper now, actually, I think. It was
That's
like
crazy.
$40, I think.
Dang.
That's a bargain. That's like N movies. Oh wow. I'm just like, wow. Well, that's something to keep an eye out for. Anyway, I talked
It's
about
Blu-ray though, not 4K.
Yeah, physical media. Did a lot of changes. Best Buy is pulling out completely. They've pulled all of their online pre-orders. I think I read somewhere that Walmart is now going to become the primary distributor for Steelbook releases. Well, at this point, Walmart's going to be the primary distributor, period,
For everything.
because this has been a year where, Best Buy announced that they were completely pulling out in stores and online. At the same time, Target said kind of the same thing, but not nearly to the same extent. They're still going to have online sales of physical discs, and only in select stores are they going to completely phase out discs. And I can only just speak on for our area. Our Target has maybe a shelf left of discs.
Oh man, I saw it today. It's gone. It's done.
It's done. They've been like itching to get rid of it. It's over. And then of course Best Buy, how long have we been saying that they've just been like giving it all away? The last time I went, they had that stupid fucking staircase in front of it too.
Every time. And it doesn't matter where they move the film section, they specifically move the like staircase to be right in front of it. It's really funny.
Weirdly, same for me.
I guess it's company policy or something. I have no fucking idea.
But yeah, no, I've seen like that stairs a bunch of times, like right by the movie sections. And
also, I don't know if you notice, they're kind of overpriced too at Best Buy. And it's like, it's so weird because it's like you're stopped selling them. Don't you got to like get rid of product? Maybe selling them overpriced is the reason you're going out of business. Shit's so fucking expensive. I don't know.
Like I think the Roland Emmerich Godzilla 4K Steelbook was $60. Where you can get it for half that price on Amazon.
Yeah. I don't know why they did that. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they weren't fucking selling if that's what they were doing.
Yeah, it's bad. It's also been a year where, Disney seemingly has been more involved in releasing. Maybe the only good thing Disney has done the whole year is put more of an emphasis on their actual physical media releases. So I want to go to David. Well, actually, not you, David. I'm sorry. We discussed this. I want to go to Peter.
Fuck you, David.
Yeah, basically. I want to go to Peter. You haven't had the chance to talk about this as much. What have you made of 2023 when it comes to physical media? It's been a wild year. Ups and downs.
It's weird. I feel like people are a little more into it. I don't got the numbers this year. And there's been some really great releases. Like, what's it called? Oppenheimer sold out like crazy.
Yeah, that was a big one.
I don't know. Like there's still some great physical releases being made, but at the same time, people are trying to close up shop on physical releases. And I mean, again, to a certain extent, I get it because streaming has killed physical media for so many. But it is funny to me that Best Buy's like, we're done selling like Blu-rays of 4Ks, but our album fucking our album section is like 2 rows.
Vinyls.
vinyls. Yeah, that's really funny. I don't know. I feel like streaming will explode eventually. Hopefully, it's getting more and more and more expensive, and there's going to be less investment into streaming as far as original works because money wise, it just ain't worth it.
And
And
notice
I
how
think,
they're raising prices every 3 months.
yeah, like they have been raising it like crazy.
Like it used to be just one time a year, price increase. Now it's like 5 times a year. It feels like.
I don't know. I think I don't know how long it would take, but I do feel like physical media, despite some of the worst shit happening with it, like the closing of it in Best Buy and just a lot of bad writing in the wall, I'm actually a little bit more hopeful for the future of physical media than I was.
If only because
a
there
bit prior.
seems to be a substantial amount of people who are still like, you know what? No, it's niche, but it's reliably niche. Like there's still a market.
That's the
which it-
thing.
yeah.
It's the same with so many other things that are niche, but that you still find them in stores and they still sell, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, it might be to Walmart's benefit after all then. Because they're going to be the biggest now distributor of these physical media releases.
I live closer to a Walmart. It's better for me.
That's true. That's very true. And lately, some of their Walmart versions have been like I this year I've purchased the Walmart versions for Oppenheimer, Creed 3, and Shazam, and they're all beautiful. So
And you know what doesn't help though? I will say this is movies that suck. And because I went to Target and I looked at like the few movies that they had, and it's all movies that have released in like the past year, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't own any of these either. Like, you also need better films. Again, I think that's why Oppenheimer sold out like crazy.
yeah, that's the thing. Also, it's like for people who didn't check it out in theaters, are they going to buy the disc?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was a better chance of that happening in the olden days, but now people don't have that kind of attention span. And if not, they're looking at other ways to, see the films if they even care to see the movies. And if not, then they'll find something else to watch. That's what people's minds are. Like this is a problem when you have so much content at your disposal.
I think the biggest thing is that studios have just trained people to know that this movie will eventually be on streaming. So unless it's like this major event that everyone's going to be talking about and you have to watch it right now, like 90% of people will just wait for it to hit streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah. So honestly, what I think they should do is stop doing that. Don't have movies hit streaming for a long ass time. Like a fucking year once it's out of the theater.
Barbie, real quick on that. Barbie this past week finally hit HBO Max. It finally hit Max for the first time, and that is an amazing amount of control considering that Barbie was out in July.
Yeah,
like that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Make people wait a long time. It's like making them okay. You want to wait? We're gonna make you wait then.
Especially because with streaming, that's the thing. Streaming absolutely is eating into theater and box office.
Yeah.
And the studios are trying to control both sides. But the reality is they make bigger bucks through a hit in the movie theater. At least per movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, something's got to give. And yeah, those prices keep going up
and they keep removing content off of those services. That's so it's like
that's why I think there is people are again a very niche number of people, but there are people that are like, you know what? Nah, fuck this. Let me.
Yeah, I think there is no profit to be made in streaming. I think on a large level, the studios get that. There are some who speculate that their goal is to raise it as much as possible. I think we're going to get to a point where the streaming services are going to be there if you want them, but they're not going to be what I think people thought they would be. The way I envision this going is in the next few years, Max, Disney Plus, they'll be around, but they're not going to be these destinations for new content. They'll be the place to go
No,
to.
not anymore at all. Yeah.
They'll if you want, let's say, to watch the latest Star Wars film, it'll be on there maybe like a half a year later, but it's not going to be. It no longer will be this destination for like these new shows or movies. That's done. That's gone.
I saw
And
there's like 4 Star Wars shows premiering on Disney Plus next year. Like Andor, fucking
Bad Batch,
Bad Batch season
3.
whatever 3. What was that other show that's set during the not the Old Republic but the High Republic?
The Tales of the Jedi,
No, it's live action.
The Dark Acolyte.
The Acolyte.
The
Yeah,
Acolyte. Okay.
yeah, that one. And then there was another. Is it Mandalorian? I don't fucking remember. But I saw that it was like 4. Maybe it was Tale. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, like 4 series. You're not gonna have that moving forward. Like that's still remnants of the old way of thinking. Moving forward, you're gonna get like 0 TV series.
Which I'm hoping that's going to be a benefit to who is on cable, all those other networks that can get, some bangers in them left, because it's very clear that that's not what streaming is happening. So I think that's what studios are doing right now. But there are also a lot of, I think, other easy solutions that we've been discussing. Like, just withhold the films longer and longer and longer. Like right now, I thought it was brilliant. I wasn't expecting it, that Apple actually put Flower Moon for sale and for purchase and for renting on before it goes to Apple TV Plus, because that's the whole point it was made, was for it to be on Apple TV and also win some awards. But if it was Netflix, Netflix would only like put the movie in theater for 2 weeks, if that, and then just go straight to Netflix about a month later.
Well, I feel like that's how you theoretically you would make the most money, right? Like you want to spread it out enough to where they're like, okay, well, I don't want to wait that long, so I gotta buy a ticket. And then eventually you drop it on digital. So the people that want to wait to see it, they're like, oh, I heard it was online. Fuck, I have to pay for it. Whatever, I'll just buy it digitally to watch it or rent it digitally. Then you have the physical, and then sometime after that, you drop it on whatever streaming service you're at. And it's like you can triple dip on some people depending on the movie. So,
David, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's fine. I was gonna mention when Netflix first came out. I remember we would always be like, "Oh, this new thing came out. Would it be on Netflix yet? No, it's not gonna be here for like a long ass time." And so we'd go either if it's in theaters, we watch it in theaters, or Redbox too. We would go there instead.
That's still a thing. Yeah,
it's still a thing. Yeah,
is it?
Yeah,
yes, to as much as it can be, but it still exists.
Yeah, but I mean, no, yeah, like you guys mentioned though too. When, like I said, when Netflix first came out, we would always know about this certain movie or show that's come out, and we would know for sure that it's not going to be on Netflix for like a long ass time, probably years, and so we'd rush to try and see it. So it can definitely work, and it can still work now.
The thing is, again, this is the problem. So many studios and companies invested in streaming like it was the future.
Thank you, Bob Iger.
Yeah. And then when it turned out to be a massive money pit, they're like scrambling to still keep it alive. And one of the ways they keep it alive is through new movies on there. But you're sacrificing the box office to a certain extent of new movies in order to try and pump up your streaming service that's never going to survive. That's
which
never
is
gonna
what they
work.
were doing. 2020 was, the great year of experimentation for them, right? That's what because they didn't have the realistic option of putting their movies in theaters because they were closed due to COVID-19. They were then experimenting with this whole idea of putting the films on streaming. You had Bob Chapek put his Disney animated films on Disney Plus. You had then Toby Emmerich, at that point was called, then known as Warner Media, do the whole all the films that Warner Brothers, Jesus, and those decisions I think have proven to be cataclysmic.
Mm-hmm.
Cataclysmic decisions.
Terrible.
Absolutely devastating decisions that continue to hurt various different brands. So it's their own fault for doing that. And honestly, in hindsight, they should have just waited. I mean, maybe some movies had no choice. I get it, but some of those decisions were really unnecessary. And remember, there exists an alternate reality where Paramount dropped Top Gun Maverick on Paramount Plus. They wanted to do that, and Tom Cruise is like, "Fuck you. We're waiting. We're waiting."
Imagine. But yeah, it's one of those things where they tried to have their cake and eat it too, and then they're getting fucked from both sides, really, because they're streaming. Most people, just everyone's streaming service is falling off a cliff, like numbers wise, money wise. Like I said, it's a money pit. Except the only one maybe Netflix.
Netflix is the only one,
and I think, maybe Disney Plus. Because Disney Plus is like the babysitter app, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But other than that, like it's a big money pit. I think Max has less subscribers than HBO Max had, because of course it does. Yeah, something's gonna have to change. It's gonna have to break.
Yeah, I think we're witnessing that right now.
Whatever keeps physical media alive.
Yeah, but to an extent though, physical media in some studios like Disney are really giving it the time of day because they're desperate enough to look for other ways to make revenue. Otherwise, would we really be in a place, and it's still kind of incredible to say, that the Disney Plus live action shows from Star Wars and Marvel are getting physical media releases?
Yeah. And again, it's because there's money to be made there. Mm-hmm. But again, for whatever reason, kids films, they like for their 100th anniversary, ugly fucking steelbooks. All
God. Well, Disney is known for that. Disney, they just crap out discs.
No effort.
Yeah.
No effort whatsoever. So it's like every now and then, like, you'll get a couple of really good, like the Target, when they had those exclusives, those were all really good.
Yeah.
All for the newer films.
Great. Yeah.
But yeah, Disney can really rely on them just being overly generic, and it's not great in that avenue. The other element here I want to say that hasn't been mentioned, another thing studios should really focus on if they want to like avoid big disasters, just budget your films better.
Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
We know we said this when we talked about Godzilla -1. Well, what was it? Less than 15 million or something like that? Or
yeah.
Okay, at that point, some fucked up practices are going on. Let's be real.
Yeah, for sure.
It's below 15 million.
But I literally said, like, there's no excuse, Marvel. Like, if you're putting in
really.
Like
there's other movies like The Creator, where however you may feel about that film visually, what was it, like 80 or lower?
It wasn't that much. It was actually quite. It's worthy of a nomination for visual effects. It looks beautiful, and it wasn't that much money for sure.
There's every year there are incredible examples of a movie that just looks incredible and does not cost that much, and there are 500 examples of a big budgeted film, 200 million. Wasn't The Flash like 300 million? Where does this money go?
Yeah,
Indiana Jones was over 300.
Indiana Jones, like, what the fuck?
I want to also correct the record. For the last few weeks, we've been saying that the Marvels was $200 million. That was incorrect. I saw an article today. Forbes reported that it was 280.
I have no idea where the money's going.
Mm-hmm.
It really does feel, and I'm not even joking, it feels like a tax scheme or something.
Right?
Like someone is stealing the money.
It's like Robert De Niro in Flower Moon. It's just like
The producers, like, something's going on, because that is insane.
well, wasn't 230 the price tag for Secret Invasion?
Yeah, but I understand that one because they fucking remade the show twice. Like, and again, a lot of this budgeting just comes from them rushing films and not actually like writing a script ahead of time,
Speaking of
knowing exactly what shots they need, what sets they need, how much money they have to spend. It always comes down to shit like that.
one of the people who has sources, and it's not always the most reliable, so take this with a grain of salt. Snyder was saying that with Captain America: Brave New World, they recently brought in a new writer.
Oh yeah, I saw that on a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar to a lot of things in Marvel recently where they're almost done or are done filming. They look at it and they go, oh, it's bad. Let's just completely film it again. They did that with Daredevil. Like you said, they did that with Secret Invasion. They're doing it with Captain America, where they were done filming. They're like, oh shit, this isn't great. Bring in a new writer. Let's try and rewrite this film on the fly and then shoot it again. Actually, that's a really bad way to make films. So it's not surprising when they're big and bloated and look ugly and cost so much fucking money, and they're really bad.
And it's like, if you have that much money to like spend, why are you making it so bad? Like, why can't you just like spend all of that and like take your time and do it right?
Yeah.
Real quick,
You would
though,
save money that
Yeah.
way. Like,
It's like there's nothing wrong with spending that much money, but like we need to see the
it better
quality.
look.
Yeah.
Avatar, you know.
Uh-huh.
Say, you know, whether you like the films or not, visually that money is on screen.
Speaking of Vince Snyder, Kyle just shared with us something saying that he is saying that Dune Messiah has been greenlit by Warner Brothers for a 2027 release. That's not official, but that's what Snyder is reporting, that Dune Messiah is a go at Warner Brothers for 2027. This is before we even get Dune Part 2, which was supposed to happen this past October, but is now slated for, I believe, March of 2024.
Did you see the new trailer for
I think I meant to see. Damn it! I meant to see that one. I knew there was one I forgot, but
if you know the story, it shows a lot, but it's incredible. It's I don't think anyone has had quite a run like Villeneuve. He's had banger after banger, like how many times in a row at this point? 5, 6.
There hasn't been a miss.
He has not missed. It's insane.
If Dune Messiah is happening, he's gonna do that one, right? Like,
well, I recently saw that he said that he wanted to do something else after
Dune 2.
Dune Part 2. But that he basically said, I want to complete the trilogy. Like, in his mind, I think he wants to do the third film, the Dune Messiah. Which is crazy because Dune Messiah is a very different story.
Yeah.
It completes the story of Paul Atreides, but it's also less mass audience marketable. Well,
yeah.
But it also takes place like 12 years after. So it's like they can wait a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what expectations are for Dune Part 2 as far as like how it will perform financially.
I feel so bad for those Dune films, because they've been fucked. The first one got fucked by the pandemic, and this one kind of got fucked by the
Strikes.
strikes. Just poor timing.
Hmm.
So at this point, I don't know how it'll do. But you know what? There hasn't been a really great blockbuster, and I think people are really fiending for one. I think that's why Godzilla -1 has been doing. I just saw that they were supposed to be out of U.S. theaters on like the 8th, December 8th or something.
They expanded.
They expanded them again to like
Mhm.
January something.
That and Boy and the Heron got expanded. I think this past week.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
So-
you're right. There hasn't been a really good blockbuster in a long time.
Mm-hmm. So who knows? That hunger might reach peak in time for a new Dune film. I do worry because I do think a lot of people maybe felt like general audiences. The first one was slow, boring. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we will see. Indeed. Going on this, we had some other trailers drop this week. One of the films coming out next year, Kung Fu Panda 4. What I thought was the most funny thing that came out of that was not like that trailer came out, not 24 to 48 hours after we recorded our last discussion, in which we were talking about how we had enough of Aquafina in animated films. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
only for what to happen? Aquafina starring in yet another animated film. It's not like she's doing minor roles in these movies. Like she seems to have major
No,
roles in all these
yeah.
animated films.
She is getting her check, man. She is about that money. You can tell. God damn. She should
And-
probably star in another indie though
Mhm.
before, just to sort of what do you call it? Renew her career so she keeps going.
'Cause I still think she was phenomenal in The Farewell, the film by Lulu Wang that came out
I love
years
that
and
film,
years
yeah.
ago. It's a
It's
great
great.
movie.
A great film.
But ever since then,
She saw the money train and she hopped on board.
she was likable in Shang-Chi, but I don't like the movie Shang-Chi, so there's that.
Hmm.
So anyway, Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah.
The last one came out 2016, correct?
I don't remember.
Kung Fu
Hmm.
Panda 3 must have been 2016. I think it was. I remember it being the same year as Zootopia.
Mm.
So it had to be
Probably then,
2016.
yeah.
It's been a long time since the last one came out. Is Dustin Hoffman still doing the voice for
I think so, because he sounded tired as fuck in that trailer.
like really old?
Yeah. So I think so.
And isn't Dustin Hoffman like almost 90?
He's old as shit. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
So, okay. A lot of people kind of bypassed what was going on in the trailer and seemed to complain about some of Poe's supporting cast not even being featured.
The
In the
Fab
movie.
Five. The
Yeah.
Furious Five.
Yeah.
Fast X.
I mean, they're barely in the movies either way. Like at least in 2 and 3. I mean, Tigers was the only one.
Let me tell
really.
you something. Kung Fu Panda's got a... Holy shit. Kung Fu Panda's got a fan base.
Mhm.
Like, it's got a pretty strong fan base.
Well, it's because one of the things I even forgot about until right now is that hasn't there been a show on Netflix for years now?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
it got a show on Nickelodeon, and then I think they probably just moved it to Netflix and all that. It was the same thing for How to
I
Train
think it
Your
was
Dragon.
2 different shows.
2?
I think.
There's probably some specials or something you're probably thinking about.
Because there could be people who are just fans of the shows, since the movies have they're only 3 films, and if they're not appearing in I can understand that. Incidentally, I just saw that at the Children's Emmy Awards or whatever it was, Jack Black got his first Emmy for voicing Poe in the recent Kung Fu Panda TV show.
Oh, it was for Poe?
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was for Poe. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was for Because he recently got another award for Peaches.
That wasn't that. No, it was for Kung Fu Panda. The clip that I shared with you guys was
Okay,
for,
but I'm saying there's also another award he got
yeah,
for Peaches.
which he's gonna get nominated at the Oscars, isn't he?
Hell, he is going to perform in the snazziest fucking Bowser looking suit, and he's gonna rock the house. All right, you gotta just deal with it. Get the fuck over it. Okay, wait. Let me tell you some of the movies that are in the Disney collection. That's like $1,500.
Okay.
The Nightmare Before Christmas, a Goofy movie, James and the Giant Peach, the Tigger movie, Return to Neverland, The Jungle Book 2, Piglet's Big Movie, Pooh's Heffalump movie, Wall-E. I think they threw Cars. So they threw in the Pixar films too. Yeah, all the Pixar films. Frankenweenie, Planes, Fire and Rescue. Toy Story 4, Soul, Raya, Luca, Encanto, Lightyear, Strange World, Elemental. So yeah, they threw in
everything.
all the Disney classic animated films from. They threw in all the Pixar, and then they threw in some straight to DVD sequels and like the stop motion films. So, yeah.
Did they include those the Disney Toon Studios like Cinderella 2, Cinderella 3, Neverland, Jungle Book 2, Mulan 2, those movies that weren't received very well. Pocahontas 2, were all those included in there? That would be funny if they were. I don't think that. No.
Wow.
I mean, for 1,500, I mean, at least put all of what you got.
I know, like
to it.
100 years, put everything.
Yeah, it's like you have Piglet's Big Movie, but you don't have
Mulan 2.
Mulan. Yeah.
What about, was it Lion King 1.5 or something?
Wait, did they have Pooh's Heffalump Halloween movie?
It just said Pooh's Heffalump. Does he have 2 Heffalump films?
Yes.
I don't think it's the Halloween one.
No, there's the first one and this
Planes, Fire and Rescue.
Yeah.
And Planes, but also Planes in the sequel to Planes. I don't know. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Not even Tarzan 1.5.
What about
Tarzan had a 1.5?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was just.
It was Tarzan. It was called Tarzan 2, but it was basically Tarzan 1.5.
I thought there was one called Tarzan and Jane.
There was 3. There was Tarzan and Jane, and there's also Tarzan 2, which it wasn't really a Tarzan 2. It was more of a Tarzan 1.5. What about the Lilo and Stitch films that are like Stitch the movie, Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch as a Glitch, Leroy and Stitch?
Oh my god.
Nope.
That's just weird.
It's a weird lineup of films.
I mean, you should also throw in the animated Disney Channel movies, like the Proud Family movie. Could also be part of that too. The Kim Possible movies. There were like 2 of them. Like So the Drama, especially. Like,
dude, I remember watching that.
Right? Yeah.
I was like into it. Like, oh my god.
I mean, if I were them, I would have just had the classic films, Pixar, the like stop motion ones, and then call it a day and bring down that fucking price. I'm sorry, I don't need Pooh's Heffalump film.
I would have thought they would have just broken it down with like decades or something, you know, or with the different generations. Like Disney, what was it? Disney Renaissance, Disney, whatever.
Are those even official? I feel like that's fan.
Which ones?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Creation.
Yeah.
Like to call it like.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The Renaissance.
Yeah.
And then call it like the Gold Era. I don't even know.
Disney would probably lean into it at some point.
I'd
like to.
I don't know because there's eras that aren't great.
That's I just
not every era is a Renaissance. I don't know if they want to acknowledge that.
No, that's not their style. It'd be nice to see a collection of Muppet movies.
That would require them acknowledging the Muppets.
Yeah.
So it ain't happening.
Nope. Not really at all. Did we like the Kung Fu Panda 4 trailer? And how do we feel about DreamWorks these days?
I don't know. I feel like none of the trailers ever looked good.
For DreamWorks movies?
Yeah. It's one of those where for me, it's always, you just got to see the movie.
Yeah. But they always surprise you, though.
I mean, The Last Wish just came out last year, so it's like you would hope that movie would kind of like change the direction of like where they want to go with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I mean, because that one was a great film.
I mean, I feel like these movies were in development like
before,
you know. It takes a long time to make these animated films.
I mean, I saw that Boy and the Heron was in production since 2017.
But that's Miyazaki, you know.
Well, and the story changed several times over.
Oh yeah, you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, it was supposed to adapt the book.
How do you live? Oh, one thing we never talked about that, I think, on the review. Did we like how they just changed the title, or do you feel it would have been more appropriate to have the original title? Because in Japan, it's still called How Do You Live? But in America, they changed it to The Boy and the Heron. And I was seeing some commentary that for some people, the name The Boy and the Heron might like create some unrealistic expectations about what the film is. Like they may be thinking it's an adventure about a boy and a heron. I don't know how you feel about it ultimately. I'm just like the commentary that I heard is that they felt that the title itself might set people up for a different kind of movie than what they would get if it was just called How Do You Live?
I mean, I didn't really have any expectations from the Boy and a Heron title. You know, I just assumed they were both going to be involved, but I wasn't expecting like, yay, great adventure, you know, my best friend and all that. Like, I wasn't thinking of that. Whereas, good.
Oh no, you're gonna finish. Go ahead.
No, whereas with How Do You Live, I feel like I think I would have just expected a whole different movie altogether. I don't know.
I probably would have expected an adaptation of the book, which it very clearly wasn't.
It was referenced in the movie.
Yeah, which is funny because you know how much change the movie probably went through behind the scenes. You know, he probably started with like, okay, we're gonna adapt the book. Okay, but I kind of want this weird mystical thing here. And then it was just years of that snowball effect before they're like, you know what, we're just putting the book in this scene and that's it. No, I like the Boy and the Heron title. I'll go against the grain here because it kind of reminds me of like a fable, you know?
Okay.
Like the Boy and the Heron, you know? And it's not literally about like the boy and the heron, but it's a story. It's like Jack and the Giant Beanstalk. Yeah. Where it's, I don't know, I like that. I like that.
James and the Giant Peach.
Because it does come off like a sort of a, I don't know. There's an old sort of timeless feeling to it. The film itself, when you watch it, of a well, like I said, it kind of reminded me of something like The Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland, like this kind of
which like The Boy and the Heron can give off some big Alice in Wonderland vibes for sure.
Oh yeah, like the parakeets are basically the Red Queen's guards to me. At least that's what I was thinking while watching it. So yeah, I kind of like that. It gives a sort of timeless feel to it, at least to me. And it tells me that it's this, you know, sort of timeless mystical story, and that there's more to it than just what it appears to be, because that's the way all those stories are, you know. They're very direct, like make one up, like the cow and the moon or something. But there's more to it then or as a segue, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Right. Well, too
So
bad we're
yeah,
not there
so,
yet, though.
no,
We're not
well,
quite with
fuck
the.
you. I
with
had
the
it perfect,
segue.
but whatever.
I know. I'm gonna destroy it completely. Are you surprised there's no news of a Puss in Boots sequel, considering how well it did? Not that I want one. I thought it was a pretty standalone film, The Last Wish, but like I'm surprised they're not like revving that one up.
I think it's because they're pretty far in development of another Shrek film, I bet.
Yeah. Which we still have heard very little of. But I
Yeah.
guess it's just how DreamWorks works. It's just very low key in
I
general.
mean,
For
you didn't hear
real.
much about
Kung Fu Panda 4.
Kung Fu
Yeah.
Panda 4 until they
Yeah.
dropped a trailer. So
Same thing with Puss in Boots and just really any other
Yeah.
movie. They always just come out of surprise and like either
I
it's a
mean-
great movie or it's an okay one.
yeah, that's how I am with DreamWorks.
Mhm.
Like DreamWorks can drop okay films where it's like,
Boss
you
Baby.
know,
They made
Whoa,
two
what's
of
that?
those, right?
Yeah, in
They
the
made two
show.
Boss
Boss Baby,
Babies.
yeah, Boss Baby 2, or they can drop like really good films, like Puss in Boots 2 and Shrek 2. They're good with
Mhm.
them sequels. Kung Fu Panda 2. I think that's the best Kung Fu Panda.
But I will also say I really
kill it
like
on the
I really like Kung Fu Panda 3 as well.
Oh,
Mhm.
Because
really?
because you had more James Hong in there too, and I love that character. And James
Yeah,
Hong.
he is great.
Yeah.
They finally paid off that joke about being his son.
Right. So I think the Kung Fu Panda films have been like a
They've been
highlight.
real solid, I think. They've
Mhm.
been really
I actually
consistent.
did watch the show when it came out on Nickelodeon. I actually enjoyed that way more than
Nerd.
DreamWorks How to Train Your Dragon show that weirdly came out on Cartoon Network instead of Nickelodeon.
Oh, How to Train Your Dragon too. That's another
Mhm.
one where real solid, real consistent.
I mean, speaking of that, isn't that currently being converted into a live action franchise?
Again, they're chasing the Disney printing
White-
machine.
The
Mhm.
Disney White Whale, you mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically. I hate live action remakes. I really do. But dragons are cool. I don't know.
Yeah, this one like they gotta kill it with the CGI and all that. There's a lot of things it can't. That first image is gonna say a lot, basically. Whenever it comes out, who knows when? But like, if I'm seeing fucking Little Mermaid quality CGI,
Well,
They're
that's
screwed.
how are you gonna adapt the look of Toothless? Because he has a very cartoon look to him.
And I'm even
Mhm.
looking past that because like I'm Netflix is really doing this a lot with taking animated shows and doing them in live action too. We've seen the still
Well,
images.
anime, really. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender looks okay. They don't look terrible, but I'm not interested. So I'm seeing like right now, they had One Piece earlier this year, which I'm sure I think you saw a little bit of it, David. You liked it fine, but
Yeah.
it's
Are you a
still
One Piece fan?
No.
I would say I used to be when it was on when I watched it a long time ago. But
Here's
it's been
the
going
thing.
on for 20 years, so I don't
See, that's the thing. Like yesterday or something, they also announced a remake of the anime through
Mhm.
Netflix. And in my mind, I'm like, I can get behind that. Because I heard that actually watching One Piece is just shit, like dog shit. They're like,
yeah.
even the people that love the One Piece anime, they're like, it's great. You just got to get past the first 50 episodes and skip all the filler, which is
Mhm.
like 200 episodes, 300. And it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
just
I think I heard like the manga is like 600 books, but the show it's like
Well,
1,000 episodes. Or
at this
something
point,
like
Yeah.
David, did One Piece have more episodes at this? It's still going, I think, right?
it's
One
still
Piece.
going.
It's
Yes.
still
But it's
going.
like, did it? I guess did it outlive Pokemon? Because Pokemon had like what 20 something seasons. Because
Yeah.
Pokemon ended. I mean, I guess it's still on,
Ended.
but yeah. Well, is this new Pokemon series considered the same one, or is it a sequel series spinoff? It's that Ash is not the main character anymore.
It's just Ash, not the main character, really. I don't know if they
Okay.
ever reference him or anything like that. Some people are guessing that the adult in the show is probably Ash, but as far as I know, he's just not in it anymore.
My point is I saw that they have a live action Yu Yu Hakusho.
Mm-hmm.
And Yu Yu Hakusho is one of my favorite animes when I would watch it back in the early 2000s. Like it was really just a crazy viewing experience. And it kind of makes me worried that we're getting closer and closer to them doing that same shit with Dragon Ball. But I'm like, you tried it once when they did a live action film back in the 2000s. I can't think they're going to try it again a second time.
They're going to try it again.
But Dragon Ball is very popular. It sells a lot to this very day. They're even doing like a children's anime I saw for Dragon Ball. So it's like, I mean, children as in like young, I guess younger audiences.
Muppet babies.
Basically. So it's like, I'm kind of nervous.
I know
about that, you know.
I can kind of see Dragon Ball live action, but I can't see Dragon Ball Z. Like, don't make him an adult.
Dragon Ball, I would disagree. Dragon Ball is very different than Dragon Ball Z because that one's more like 80s manga, like kooky, wacky shit going on. How does that work in live action?
Oh, I mean, if you watch One Piece, it can work.
Oh, yes,
yeah, it can work. And the thing though is that for me with Dragon Ball, I feel like you can make the CGI, like it doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that. You can mess with it a bit and still make it look super fun, you know? So, like, I'm thinking like CGI of like RRR. Do you remember? Like, it was kind of ridiculous, but like it was fun. The CGI was fun. There was still some cool details to those things and all that. I feel like you can do that with Dragon Ball, and you'll have like a whole lot of kids loving it. So,
God, are we gonna get to the point where they're gonna remake Miyazaki's movies?
No, I think everyone would probably be in agreement. It's not
gonna be called The Legend of Zelda.
Oh my god.
The director literally came out and said he wants his Legend of Zelda movie to be
a live
ostensibly a live action Miyazaki film.
Which
I rather see him attempt that than Illumination turn the Koroks into fucking what do you call it, Minions 2.
I remember Michael B. Jordan saying that he took a lot of inspiration with anime into Creed 3, and I thought good luck with that, and he proved me wrong. He did a really good job.
That's the thing, there's a lot of filmmakers nowadays that grew up on anime.
Yeah,
his anime that how it was huge in the 90s and it's only gotten bigger, but that's like the generation that grew up with it that's now making shit. So I think you're gonna see a lot more of that.
Real quick, did we have anything to say about that Civil War trailer? People are really like dunking on it.
People are dunking on it. Here's the thing, I love Alex Garland.
Yeah,
I've loved all his films.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people really hated Men.
I liked that movie.
I liked Men.
Yeah,
because even if there's parts that you might think it's dumb or whatever, he always does shit visually to make it worth the price of that admission. I'll put it that way. The third act.
I still can't believe we just kept moving on with our lives after Annihilation.
To me, Annihilation is incredible. Like, that was one of those films that I went back and thought about more and more. And the more I thought about it, the more I really loved it. But yeah, Annihilation, he did a really great show. I've recommended it to you guys so many times. Devs, which is all about like sort of like fate. You should watch it. It's really good. I think it's on Hulu. Yeah. And what was his
Ex Machina?
Yeah, I mean, and it's believed that he basically he did write, but he kind of shadow directed Dread. I think that was him. So
he's a talented person.
He's really talented. Yeah, I really like his shit. So I have a very open mind when it comes to his Civil War movie. I really do. And what's his name? Meth Damon looks great in it.
Jesse Plemons
Jesse
is
Plemons.
just anytime he pops up in a film, it's like remember when he popped up in Jungle Cruise? He was
Oh
really fun
yeah,
in that movie.
but he
Remember
had the
Jesse? Remember
greatest.
Jesse Plemons, David? Jesse Plemons, you just saw in Flower Moon. He was the head FBI guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
They call him Meth Damon as a joke because he was his first big role was in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And everyone's like, it's that guy that looks like Matt Damon.
Yeah.
I get it now. Oh my god. That's
Yeah.
funny.
He's married to Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they were both in Power of the Dog, which they both got nominated for Power of the Dog as well.
Now they're both in Civil War.
Mm.
Hey, I forgot that she was in that trailer. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
she's like
Yeah.
the lead. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
She makes sure her husband gets work. All right. She
Hey.
keeps her husband employed.
Zendaya, take notes.
Yes,
Seriously?
Zendaya. Come on, step up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
You
same thing
gotta
for
help Tom.
John Krasinski. I mean, she doesn't need Emily Blunt doesn't need work like
Oh,
help
she
with
don't
that.
need it.
But like, he still though she goes.
But you
to
know
much of
what
his
she
movies.
does need though is a damn Oscar nomination. She's never been nominated for an Academy Award.
She's British. I can't defend her.
And I'm like, I mean, interestingly enough, the Screen Actors Guild nominated her for Mary Poppins of all things. But then again, Emily Blunt is one of my favorite performers because she just like does something different every movie, and she completely convinces me with whatever she's doing. Gosh, there's just so many weaves here to tangle. Paul King, who we're gonna discuss in a few minutes, is he doing that Fred Astaire movie for Sony with Tom Holland attached to it?
Was
So
he the one attached to that?
It's because I was looking on Letterboxd and I was looking for at his filmography, right? Paul King, the director of Wonka and the Paddington films, and I'm looking at there's a movie here called Untitled Fred Astaire Biopic. His name is attached to it, and Tom Holland is also attached to it. This is the one that Sony is producing. That sounds interesting. Fred Astaire, for those we're not aware of, is this famous dancer.
Yeah, I kind of feel weird about that one though, because he
Sony.
never wanted a biopic of his life.
Oh, Fred Astaire?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him. I think he literally came out and said, like, I never want there to be a biopic.
That sucks.
Well, he's dead, right? So
Okay. I guess if you want to, that's the way you want to look at it.
that's the way Sony is looking at it. It's like
Clearly.
too bad, so sad. But if that's true, might be a chance that movie is actually good, and that might mean a good move for Tom Holland if that's the case. Finally, right? But it's just like you can't help but wonder. It's like Timmy. We'll get to Timmy in a minute, but what if Tom had this role?
Tom who?
Or something like a role like this at this point? Tom Holland. Like
what kind of role? The Fred Astaire one?
No, I'm saying like. I'm not saying he should have been cast as Wonka. I'm saying imagine him having roles like that at this point in his career. That's what I'm saying.
He's just had a bad luck in picking projects. He needs to find, and maybe this is cliche, he needs to get himself an A24 project to lead. He really does. He needs to pick better. Because he is not. I feel like everything he picks is terrible and really not interesting. Like, again, Zendaya doesn't have this issue. She picks interesting, like even that fucking tennis movie she's in.
That looks great.
It looks good.
Yeah,
and it's like if you would have told me like it's a tennis movie about.
And you're telling me they couldn't have cast Tom Holland in that movie? I mean, they have another Brit boy in there, Josh O'Connor, who played Prince Charles on The Crown. They couldn't have swapped him out for Tom. I mean, there was a role specifically for that type of look.
If you wanted to make all the money, you would have picked Tom Holland and Timothee Chalamet. For that one hotel scene alone. That would have made all the money. Um,
And then
but
pair that with and open it the same week as Saltburn.
well, it's weird because he also says that he's good friends with Timothee Chalamet.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, it's great having someone in the industry who's, you can be friends with and help you navigate. And it's like, he ain't acting like a friend because he's not telling you. He's not giving you a shout out for better roles. Be like, hey, there's this movie, this director. Because he's another one. He picks great roles. Fucking Jacob Elordi is doing that right now. I feel anyway. But he's with great directors that are gonna put him on the map.
Like, didn't he start off with those kissing booth movies?
He started off with the kissing booth movies, made his way to Euphoria, and now he's really trying to take the Robert Pattinson route, which again, Robert Pattinson did that. Where he's like, you need to find weird little directors that make weird little movies that make Letterboxd reviewers go crazy. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I didn't take him really seriously until I saw him in Saltburn.
He
was really good in Saltburn. Really good. Like effortlessly so. Is how great of a talent he is. Mm-hmm. And I hear the same way Charles Melton is in May December, and Charles Melton got his start on Riverdale of all places.
And how much you want to bet he does similar shit?
Yeah.
So
because he's the one that's getting praised, and he's in the same room as Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
If he's outdoing those two. Wow.
Have you seen it? You haven't seen it?
Not yet. I'm waiting. Okay. I have a whole stack of films to see. It's just I'm sorry. I've been watching Paddington.
Paddington on repeat.
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to do that.
I actually do remember that story that May December is based on.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. Like hearing about it years ago.
I mean, if you'd like, we can watch it this weekend and come back next week to do a review on it, because next week we're going to be doing a review on Aquaman anyways. We compare it with May December. Which, don't you just feel, didn't a part of you die when Jason Momoa said that it's not looking too good about his own movie?
Maybe we're crazy, but I love him as Aquaman.
He's amazing.
He's great.
Aquaman.
My man. All right. We saw that trailer. It's wall to wall Jason Momoa as Aquaman isms, and he
was born to play that character. I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's doing the job that I think is exactly required of him, and it's really he's just another casualty of all the dark shit, all the dumbass decisions that were made. Just throw it again on the fire of just like some of the dumbest people to exist ever in Hollywood. And you know what? I want to actually I don't want to spend too much time on this. Jonathan Majors got fired. Oh, well, too bad, so sad. He was found guilty of assaulting his girlfriend. Evidently, he'll be sentenced. Whatever it is, he no longer is Kang. We kind of knew it. I think Marvel, in some ways, is happy because now they can just move on to that character, because that character was not selling. It didn't hit. It was Marvel's fault that character didn't hit.
I was going to say it was Marvel's fault.
Yeah,
it
for sure.
It was not at all Majors' problem. And you know what? It sucks because that guy was a really great actor. And
incredible.
He threw away his entire career. Just like that.
Let's not get into it.
That's why I'm not gonna. There's not too much to say. It is what it is, and so I want to move past that, and I want to actually connect what I was saying about, because I was alluding to Warner Brothers executives being some of the most like idiotic people that we've covered on the show and in the film business, but we also have to give the time to Disney executives too, and not just with all the things that we've already spent too much time on, like with Star Wars or Marvel or Pixar animation. Let's talk about their live action output. And I think we need to start having some hard conversations about what other kinds of films have disappeared. And Peter, you and I have discussed this too, because on this show, we've discussed about comedies and rom-coms having disappeared these last 10 years. But you know what other kind of
real quick, I just want to say, because I feel like we're moving on from the Majors thing. So just one real thing I wanted to say.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand why it's not like just normal practice now for when you're casting for these huge major roles that you're supposed
research.
Yeah, like
Basically, yeah.
do research on these people before you hire them. Understand whatever, find those skeletons in their closet, because usually of their smoke there's fire with the instances like this. And I don't understand why that's not being done, because like billions of dollars, well, not maybe not billions, but a fuck ton of money, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars is on the line when you make these hiring decisions. They really need to start doing that. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and we're also in a time now. Court of public opinion has changed. Guilty verdicts destroy careers. We haven't seen Johnny Depp come back. We haven't even seen Amber. I think Amber Heard's done, right? Like she's
done.
I think so.
She has not. I haven't. Was she even in those trailers for Aquaman? I didn't see her.
She was in one
frame. That's
one
it.
frame, not even seen frame.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be real interesting to see what they do with that in the movie, because they really make him seem like single Aquadad, and it's like, that's not true.
I got a feeling that they put in the brother as like a last minute thing to like replace
her.
I don't know.
They claim it wasn't last minute. That was always supposed to be
that actor is a mainstay of James Wan's filmography. He's in a lot of the films, right?
Patrick Bateman?
Yeah. Is it Bateman? I thought it was Patrick. Whatever. It's Patrick something, but he's all in a lot of
Bateman.
James.
Why did I say Bateman? I don't know.
He's in a lot of James's movies.
Yes. But I feel like this could have been easily just another adventure of Aquaman and whatever her name is.
Is it Hera?
Hera. Okay, I was thinking the goddess Hera or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that movie could have easily been just those two going off on an adventure and all that. But then instead it's Aquaman and his brother, and I'm like, was that a last minute thing? I could be wrong. I mean, it could have been the story the whole time, but it's just I'm curious.
We didn't talk about her on this show, but I thought it was funny how months ago she was her team released, I guess, some not allegations, but just like her frustrations that she claimed that Jason Momoa intentionally dressed up as Johnny Depp on the set of Aquaman to antagonize her. I mean, who believes that load of crap? I mean,
well, I don't know, man, because this is the thing. You hear some shit that happens on sets and you're like, what the fuck is going on sets? Like, just the craziest shit. I don't know if Jason Momoa does that. The thing is, Jason Momoa naturally dresses somewhat similar to Johnny Depp, like with the eccentric rings and like I've even seen him wear like hats similar. So maybe it was like PTSD. She saw him and immediately thought like Johnny Depp, but I feel like he dresses a lot like him in general.
Yeah.
Especially in like that Fast X movie. I haven't seen it, but
I would watch that just for him, though. If I ever watch that movie,
wait for the YouTube compilation.
For sure. People say he was like the best part of the movie, so that makes sense.
I mean, he was great in those trailers.
He played the Fast and the Furious' version of the Joker, which
basically
that kind of makes me. I would watch it for that.
Yeah. I love that line in the trailer where he's helping these people blow up a church, and he's like, "Wow, you're going to go to hell." And he's just there the whole time. So I love Momoa generally. He's a whole vibe, and I really liked Aquaman. The first movie. I gotta tell you, it was a lot of fun.
Stupid fun.
That's
emphasis on stupid and emphasis on fun. Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of James Wan, so I'm rooting for
made
them.
The best horror film of the year.
Malignant. Yeah, so that's I forgot about Malignant. But that's happening. But my through line was, because on this show we've discussed for many years that rom-coms and comedies have just gone away from theaters. Another kind of film has disappeared. And this kind of was spurred on when Peter and I discussed about Walking Out of Wonka, and how a movie like that is not something we don't see much of anymore. And that is family movies. And I wanted to give people
Mhm.
just examples of what I mean by that, and then I'm gonna give Peter the green light to just go off. But I wanted to just list off, family movies that you don't see in theaters too much anymore, right? So I mean, in just examples of it, I'm thinking Gremlins, Home Alone, Hook, Beethoven movies, the Muppet movies, Hocus Pocus. There was even the Flintstones. There was a live action one. Remember that from the 90s? Little Rascals, Santa Claus, Casper, Jumanji, Matilda, Jingle All the Way, 101 Dalmatians, Casper, Barney, Small Soldiers, Casper and Wendy, Jack Frost, Stuart Little, Snow Dogs, Scooby Doo live
Snow
action
Dogs.
ones, Country Bears, School of Rock, Elf, Looney Tunes, Cheaper by the Dozen,
Cheaper by the
Unfor-
dozen, yeah.
Unfortunate, the series of Fortunate Events with Lemony Snicket,
Matilda.
as the one I just mentioned, National Treasure, Shark Boy and Lava Girl, Are We There Yet? Zathura, Shaggy Dog, Aquila
Shaggy
and the
Dogs.
Aquila and the Bee, Charlotte's Web, Night at the Museum. I guess to an extent, Freedom Riders. I don't know. Could that be considered? Maybe it's a bit more
No.
adult than that one. Bridge to Terabithia.
Just because they constantly show it to kids doesn't
Right.
mean
I know.
know.
Bridge to
necessarily a
Terabithia,
kids movie.
Enchanted, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Paul Blart Mall Cop, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Zookeeper, Smurfs, and then that's it. And then all we get in these last few years is Paddington.
Mhm.
And I guess Detective Pikachu, I guess that can qualify as a family movie to an
Yeah.
extent, but not in I guess in the traditional sense that we know it. And of course, I didn't even mention older ones like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or The Goonies.
Yeah, I think of those, like
yeah,
the good ones, because you named a lot of dog shit ones.
and
Where I'm like, maybe we don't want this to return. Actually,
but you know what?
Country Bears.
Yeah, but
how dare I?
But there's a reason why I
That's
listed off a lot of bad ones, so because I
Okay,
think
why?
that's kind of what helped kill it, right? Is that
Yeah,
too many bad ones came out in a row, and people were just like veering away from them. You know, one I didn't mention that nobody saw a few years ago was Tom and Jerry. Remember that one?
Oh, that was that was
Grace,
straight
yeah.
to HBO Max.
I just think like you can make the argument that with a lot of comedies and rom-coms, too many of them were being made and too many of them were bad. And guess what? That's the exact same thing that's happening to comic book movies right now. But there's also a lot that I didn't list that particularly came from Disney, right? If we're gonna count those live action remakes, we're gonna count The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, Into the Woods. They used to be the studio for this kind of film, and then other studios would make their own versions of it, and it would sell a lot, particularly in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. But we got to a point where when we transitioned to the 2010s, it just went away.
I'm thinking of movies like, you ever see Heavyweights?
Heavyweights.
Oh, it's so funny.
Or The Sandlot.
The Sandlot.
Sandlot's
another
hell
one.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Heavyweights is about a kid at a fat camp. And it's taken over by Ben Stiller, a young Ben Stiller, who basically plays the same character he played in Dodgeball. It's so funny. Lunch is canceled today due to a lack of hustle. You never seen it? Oh, it's good. Okay.
Here's one. I think this has to be the epitome of when they just died. There's this cat movie that Kevin Spacey did called Nine Lives.
Oh my god!
I think this might have been the point where they just like, this was too much for audiences to take.
I was trying to remember this one movie, but I couldn't remember it. But I think I got it. I think it's called The Borrowers. Yeah,
The Borrowers.
Dude,
the 90s had some crazy like family movies.
Forgot to mention The Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
Spy
Kids. It's a little bit more blockbustery, I would say.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Spy
I'm
Kids.
thinking like no battle scenes, right?
Like this.
Like Nanny McPhee.
Yeah, that was good.
Which, funny enough, is the British version of fucking
the British or the American version?
The British version.
What about films like there was one with Frankie Muniz called Big Fat Liar.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You showed that
Kids
one a
movie.
lot on TV.
Do you remember Max Stiebel's Big
Yeah.
Move?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about when I think about like kids movie. Like
Mhm.
there was movies made specifically for like kids that weren't animated.
Look, Jingle All the Way.
Weren't blockbusters. They were Jingle All the Way. For
Flubber.
Sure. Flubber, yes, I remember Flubber.
Oh, the Addams Family movies.
I would say so, yeah.
Mhm.
They're a little risque, a little PG-13, but yeah.
Coneheads.
Coneheads, yes. I remember the Coneheads. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't make like family type films like that anymore.
Mhm.
So what happened then, Peter? What do you think? What's the theory there?
Like everything else, the market just, you know what it is?
Oh, dude, this was funny. This was not great, but I remember seeing a double toasted bad review of this movie with Whoopi Goldberg, Theodore Rex.
Oh God, yeah.
This was.
I've heard about that one where they forced her, like they sued her to force her to make the movie or something.
Yeah.
What?
Some
Yeah.
insane shit. Yeah. Well, you know what happened is there used to be a lot of different movies for a lot of different audiences.
Mhm.
And then, but what they started to do is try and consolidate all the audiences into one big movie slowly, right? Like investment started going more and more and more into the one big blockbusters that literally everyone watches and make the most amount of money. So because they make the most amount of money, what you want to do is just make like 9 blockbusters a year, make $1 billion and make all kinds of fucking money, which Disney was able to achieve once.
Mhm.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire, yes.
Yeah. Actually, I was remembering a couple ones from Dwayne Johnson was in The Game Plan. Do you guys ever watch
The
that?
Tooth Fairy.
The Tooth Fairy, and then I just remembered Race to Witch Mountain. Anyway, that was more of an adventure though, but like still, he was in the field.
Man, Disney wasted him in his fucking during that time of his career.
Yeah, Homeward Bound. There were the Air Bud movies. There was like so many Air Bud movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones that came out recently was Wonder. Didn't that have Jacob Tremblay in makeup? Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that one's a really good one. Did you guys know that they made a sequel to that?
I did not know.
That trailer has been in movie theaters for 2 years.
Oh, it has?
Yeah,
Yes.
It has to do with the guy that bullied him. that like bullied Jacob Tremblay. And he's hearing a story from like his grandmother from when she was in Germany during World War II. I don't know. I'm thinking,
remember Dolphin Tale, Free Willy?
Yeah,
this was just like.
Oh, did you guys ever watch Fighting with My Family? That one had Florence Pugh in it.
No.
That one.
Oh, that was like a wrestling.
Yeah, she played like a real life wrestler, basically like her origin story, I guess. But that was a really good family movie.
But and just to be clear here, we're talking about like live action family films.
Yeah.
Like we're not talking about animation. And I feel one of the other things that kind of came out of our conversation was like, yes, there were too many of them that came out, and too many of them, were just too bad. However, at the same time, it feels like they were slowly being replaced by animated movies. Because it wasn't just Disney doing animated films. Now you had a whole bunch of other ones that came up as well. And I kind of feel, not that animation didn't always have this reputation, if you will, since its inception, but you can maybe like make the argument, right, that with animated movies replacing all family films for the most part, even eating up into that, that kind of is why people consider animation exclusively for children.
I think that's a big contributing factor why in other areas of the world, animation can be animation isn't like a what do you call it? Like a genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a way of telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here it's a kid's film. Yeah. I think that definitely contributes to that. And by the way, I think that also contributes to why blockbusters feel so samey. Because before blockbusters we've talked about this, like there's some weirdness to some blockbusters in the past. There's a little bit more risque, a little bit darker, a little bit this, a little bit that. But as they just consolidated every other type of film that used to come out into one movie, the blockbuster, they've had to make it as palatable for as many, just literally everyone. And so it sort of becomes like smooth SpongeBob. It's like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
it loses a lot of flavor, and it's all very, I don't know. It just loses. I forgot words. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. We understood.
Did you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, we got it completely. Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah, the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Home Alone. You can say they're Christmas movies, but they're also
family movies.
Yeah, there's
for sure.
Like, I mean, to me, my favorite Christmas movie, and also as a family film, I think one of the most rewatchable films is Ron Howard's Grinch movie.
Yeah, I really like that. That was fun.
That was great. I should remember. I don't know if it's a kids movie, but I just remember one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Kindergarten Cop. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's like a kids movie.
But I guess my overall
Daddy
point was
Daycare.
like,
Daddy.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god! I don't know why we watched it so many times, but I watched that so much with my
Yeah, it
cousins.
was one of those movies that got a lot of viewing.
Yeah, really any
I don't know.
kind of any Eddie Murphy movies, honestly.
I would qualify the Chris Columbus Harry Potter films as family movies. The first two, The Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. I know that they veer off into blockbusters, but they qualify.
Yeah, they're little. I mean, all of them do.
Yeah,
but they're blockbusters. I'm thinking of a very particular type.
Those first two films, I think, are geared more towards young children than the other Harry Potter films.
But I would put them more of a category of like The Never-Ending Story.
Oh, okay.
Or like The Dark Crystal, or like those kinds, because that's another kind of.
And by the I meant the original.
We never get anymore.
Right, and I meant the original Jumanji, not the other Jumanji films.
Yeah, because again, those new Jumanji, they're not bad, but again, they have that same thing where they look and feel, like every other blockbuster.
Space Jam.
But Space Jam was fucking weird. Like that's
Dr. Dolittle.
Dr. Dolittle. Yeah,
I was looking
that's
at
another one.
Murphy's work. Yeah, Dr. Dolittle, Nutty Professor, Meet Dave. Imagine that.
Yeah. But I think what also helped kill them was, okay, so animation took over almost completely. But this is why I referenced those Disney executives. The output of Disney live action films from 2010 to where we are right now has been truly horrendous.
It's like 90% live action remakes at this point.
Right.
But they're just live action remake machines, I think. Or they try to replicate that success. Like, what was the Ava DuVernay one she did? A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh yeah.
Like very clearly trying to.
Well, they failed. Brad Bird also did Tomorrowland. That was a big L.
They're trying to do a very particular kind of blockbuster.
The most recent one that I thought worked was from 2010, Tron Legacy.
Yeah, but again, that's a blockbuster. But I enjoy it. I think there's just something to it that, damn cat hairs. There's something to it that I think it's just executed really well.
Agent Cody Banks.
Yeah,
it's Frankie Muniz, right?
It's on the line because there's Agent, but I think it's that kind of kids film.
I forgot how many movies he was in. All the while he was filming Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, he was the shit for a while. Isn't that
Oh.
great? You can work a lot, and then by fucking 21, you're set for life.
Basically. Here's the movie you talked about, Max Keeble's Big Move. Yeah, dude, it's a lost art. It really is. It doesn't have to be. The Santa Claus films definitely were there as well. So yeah, I mean, Inspector Gadget.
I want to rewatch those so bad.
Inspector Gadget. Yeah, so it's like, man, it kind of is sad just looking at this. It's like, wow, we really don't have it. The Little Vampire.
Dude, I rewatched
Remember that one?
a couple
I
years ago.
remember that.
It holds up. It really does, and it's so funny.
I remember it had pretty good atmosphere.
For sure. No, yeah, it
was a little creepy.
By the way, did you know who was in that movie? I think he has a small role. Ian DeCastiger, Fitz from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in that movie as a little boy.
really?
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he plays a character called Nigel.
Oh, they're in Ireland, aren't they, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I actually bought the DVD for it. That's how I rewatched it, because I was just like, oh my gosh, we don't, because I mean, I used to have it, and for some reason, me and Natalie, we were just like, we gotta watch that movie because we were really into it. I don't know why we love the part where like they spin the whole necklace thing and you get that noise, like, like we just love that.
Also in The Little Vampire is an actor called Jim Carter, who we just saw in Wonka. He played the character Abacus, the accountant in Wonka, but he played something else in The Little Vampire. Freaky Friday?
Oh
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Would
The
you say
Princess
that's
Diaries movies?
a high school film though? Because that's a whole other genre too.
That is
yeah.
That's
Mean
kind
Girls.
Of,
like
yeah,
same as Mean Girls.
Mean Girls was kind of like the last big one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this letterbox list. What is Beetlejuice a family movie?
I would say so.
It's a weird maybe I would say more like Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah. That movie's so weird.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of the point, right? Anyway, we could be here all day, but the point is this conversation was struck between Peter and I after coming out of Wonka, because that proved to be an experience that felt all too rare. But before we get to that, we should also transition into Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? Because
you keep ruining these transitions.
Well, I know I am. I acknowledge that I am, but I kind of don't care, because we have to follow a certain trajectory here. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory came out in 1971. It is a film that everybody knows. It's a film that everybody's seen. Everybody has seen that movie. And it is beloved the world over. It turns out I hadn't seen it in a very long time.
Clearly.
Because Peter was asking me questions and I'm like, what? Yeah.
He had it completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where I forgot that it was even a musical. That's how long it had been since I'd seen it. And
you're like, there's only like 2 songs, right? I was like, oh my god, this
and I think
stupid bitch.
I believe, David, you saw it recently, right?
Yeah, they showed it in theaters.
Oh, that's probably an awesome
for
watch.
Sure. No, yeah, for sure. People, I think, was it this one? I can't remember if it was this one or Wizard of Oz, but people were quoting it the whole time. So
that in and of itself would be a great double feature: Wizard of Oz and then the Willy Wonka.
Oh hell yeah!
So, is Willy Wonka something that is like really big for you? The movie?
Fuck yeah!
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, just the beginning alone, where you see all the chocolate being made, that is stuck in my memory.
The candy man,
the music,
yeah. And the music
you want
too.
to live in paradise.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm addicted to chocolate, and I think it might have been because of that movie. So,
addiction isn't a joke, David. Do heroin instead.
Oh God. Anyway, it is. Peter, your history of Willy Wonka, you seem to like have a huge attachment to the film.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, directed by Mel Stewart. It's scrum-diddly-umptious. Eccentric Candyman Willy Wonka prompts a worldwide frenzy when he announces that golden tickets hidden inside 5 of his delicious candy bars will admit their lucky holders into his top-secret confectionery. But does Wonka have an agenda hidden amid a world of Oompa Loompas and chocolate rivers? Starring Gene Wilder. That's the only one that's important. I had to do that. I adore Willy Wonka. I saw it a lot. The VHS a lot as a kid. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I think it holds up like
For sure.
crazy.
Especially some of the jokes in between people finding the golden tickets.
See, that's why I wanted Alexis to watch it, because I figured it would be like watching it for the first time, because he knew fucking nothing when I questioned. And so I was curious on far as how because I feel like it holds up, but you know, I come in with a bias, so who knows? So I was kind of I was wondering how he would he would take
it. When I was watching it again, it reminded me, okay, I remember, because I had seen it several times as
I'm sure
a
there's
kid.
images that we're like, okay, I remember this image or something.
I mean, it's one of those films, again, that has been like, it is so ingrained in the culture that you know where it's from. I mean, when you say, what most do I know of Willy Wonka, it's that Futurama episode when they go for the slurm contest.
The slurm,
yeah. So it's like that, I guess, to me is what I know that iconography from Willy Wonka, because I first experienced it, I believe, with Futurama. I think maybe I gotta
Have you
double
never
check
seen
that.
the movie? You just saw the Futurama episode?
I can't remember which one I saw first.
Oh my god.
It was the Futurama episode or the movie, but I do know that when I was in elementary school, I saw it, and at one point they did play it for us. It was one of those movie days, because they would actually play good movies in elementary school. But yeah, and it is something of a strange film in that it is as charming as a musical from that era is, and yet at its core is a character who is keeping you on your toes and is all kinds of whimsy and deranged, and you're not quite sure which way it's going to go up until the very end, when it's all kind of like, oh, okay. But he is a fascinating character to have at the heart of a story like this. And I know that I didn't realize it was an adaptation of a doll story, which I'm not very familiar with dolls. I know
he
of them.
Historically hates children.
Yeah, I get the impression. I think to me, that made a big impression on me as a kid as to like its treatment of like children in this movie, and even in the way that Willy Wonka would react to it, on some level as a kid watching it, really kind of disturbed me. But I think that was the point, was to feel that way. But I feel like watching it again reminded me why it wasn't necessarily in my list of rewatchables, if you want to put it that way, because it was good. I liked it clearly, but there was always, as a kid, this little bit of a disconnect with me really trying to understand Willy Wonka in comparison to, I really wish I would have had Mary Poppins as a kid, because that's one where I didn't see as a kid. I didn't see Mary Poppins until 2013, when Kyle came over and and popped open the DVD, and we were like, oh, let's watch this movie, because he had seen it and he experienced it.
And then what did you guys do?
And then we saw Saving Mr. Banks.
Okay.
Because that was coming out that year.
Late
and
night.
Of course, yeah, it was a late night for sure. But yeah, it's a very unique movie, but it's also all kinds of touching as well. Like all the scenes with Charlie and his grandpa, I remember those were like, and when he gets up and is dancing, and all the heartfelt.
Because I've got a golden ticket in my hand.
It's the definition of heart in a film, and it reminds you of how much of that is missing in so many of the movies that we've experienced these last 10 years, really. Even the ending. The ending is just so like getting chills in the back is like, because I'm giving it to you.
Oh, the way he tells him, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great, honestly. It's watching it again, it was just like, and it made me want to go back and watch the Wonka musical again, even though like there really isn't a connection.
It's very different. Yeah,
it's different. It's
a whole different beast, I would say.
Think of it like an Elseworlds, Willy Wonka.
Kind of, yeah. Well, not to bring it up, but like Star Wars. I've talked about this before. How I think a lot of Star Wars things are very different than what I consider quote unquote Star Wars, like that original trilogy. But I still really like it. You know, it's just kind of separating it and going like it's Star Wars, but it's its own thing. It's very
like
different.
Andor, basically.
Yeah, like Andor. It's tone wise is it's still, to me, it has the heart of Star Wars, but it's very, very different. You know, it's not a goofy sci-fi Flash Gordon type thing. It's
Antifa propaganda.
It's Antifa propaganda. It's How to Blow Up a Pipeline sequel, basically. And I think that's the way I kind of see the differences in like the Wonka movie and the original. But I adore the original, and it has such a weird structure to it.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Because the first third,
we don't see Willy Wonka for the first
There's no Willy Wonka. It's all built up with Charlie, and like David said, it has all these like funny like cutaway, almost Family Guy-esque gags.
Yes.
About the world reacting to
the
idea of the golden tickets.
Oh, the Oompa Loompas too. Yeah.
No,
but I think the Oompa Loompas to an extent, because it would cut away to them and they're singing about what just happened. But
no, but I'm talking about
but you're talking about something else in the movie.
Yeah. Talking about that first third.
Yeah.
But then once you hit the chocolate factory, it becomes like a different movie entirely. And like Charlie's just kind of there, you know. And what's his name? Willy Wonka really takes he's not really the protagonist, but he takes sort of the front seat as far as who we're following. I think that's kind of why they have that the fizzy lifting drink. Because it provides a moment where Charlie is like, it's like, hey, remember Charlie? He's still in this movie, you know. It's sort of because that's the only thing that sort of breaks the what do you call it, the pattern. Because once you hit it, there's this very distinct pattern where they enter a new room, and then one of the rotten, disgusting, terrible little children gets their comeuppance for being disgusting, rotten, terrible little children, and then Oompa Loompas gloat and talk about what shitty kids they are. And the only thing that really breaks that up is the boat scene, and which the boat scene was very different than you remember, wasn't it? And
it kind of was. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? I was creeped out, which is what was going on.
That's what I was saying. There's such an edge to that Wonka, his sarcasm. Like, please, no, stop.
That,
you know.
Yeah. It's like when the kid falls into the chocolate, he's like, do something. He's like, help, mercy,
help,
danger. It's just,
it's really good.
Yeah.
There were some things. I mean, how do you feel certain elements have aged? I think I don't know too much about it, but apparently, you could say this is a doll thing, right? Because apparently he's been accused of, or not he himself, but his work has been accused of being overtly fat phobic. I don't know what that means. I've heard some people who were saying that there was like a lot of fat phobia in Doll's stories. I can't speak to it because I don't really know the stories. I'm just relaying to you a critique that I heard through the grapevine.
Doll's stories have always had a sort of mean streak within them, at like an edge to all of them, especially the way when it comes to kids. Like he's very much like fuck them kids, you know, like that Michael Jordan.
But he means it.
Yeah. A lot, because like look at the story. A lot of it is like fucking kids. They're spoiled. They're gluttonous. They're watching too much TV. They're annoying chewing all that bubble gum. Like it's again, it's like kind of old fashioned fables about kids, right? It's like, hey, be good or Krampus will eat you at night. It's that kind of shit. And that's kind of with his stories, you know, they kind of don't hold back in that way. But fat phobia is silly, dumb. I don't know.
So, you had made a claim that you thought that you preferred this to not that either this is like two legends, but you had preferred this to Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay. That's not me looking at you like that's a bad thing. I'm just like really interested.
I was like, I don't know what you want. Like,
no. I want your honest opinion, and that was your honest opinion.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Just wanted to clarify. And if there was any reaction to that.
From David or from who?
From anybody. Anyway, what's your relationship to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Good luck, Charlie. What do you mean?
The Tim Burton movie.
Oh, that movie. I saw it as a kid.
What did you make of that one? Because I know I feel like maybe one of the reasons why they were showing it in elementary school around that time was because a new version had come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
People have a passionate hatred for that Tim Burton movie.
It's one of those things where if that's the one you grew up on, I think you like it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, then you hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of removed a lot of what made that original great.
Music.
The music, yeah. I mean, I think and again, I don't know if this is nostalgia or whatever, but I think just about every song in that original film is like great, memorable, classic. And yeah, it's funnily enough, the stuff that I found interesting was the different stuff that they tried to do. Like they made Willy Wonka be the one that had to kind of go through a character arc.
Yeah.
With like his past and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of interesting because it's very different. Like again, he plays a weird-esque Michael Jackson, like kind of Willy Wonka. It's completely different. So I think it also makes sense.
I know.
I can't see that.
He literally said Michael Jackson was one of his inspirations for Willy Wonka. Why do you think he has like the gloves, like the purple gloves?
I didn't know that.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I see it now though. I can see it.
Yeah. So as almost like an entirely different version or interpretation of this sort of character, that kind of intrigues me, right? Like because he himself is a kid that never really grew up. And again, I think that's why he took inspiration from Michael Jackson as far as the way he acted and and I think that kind of makes sense for the story because he actually goes through this character arc, which is not the original. The original, he's very much like a not all knowing, but he's this mysterious sort of almost creature that comes and causes havoc and bestows gifts. You know, he's not a character arc kind of having individual. So yeah, I think there was interesting stuff. For whatever reason, there's images that are still stuck in my head from watching it. Like when they're whipping the cow and he's like, whipped cream. Stupid.
Yeah. No, I think what was it? Weren't they like shaving like pink sheep? I don't think that might have been like their cotton candy or something. I don't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah, so stuff like that.
But no, actually, I remember watching it, and I mostly just kind of, I really did like. I agree with you. The changes that they made, I actually really liked, especially towards the end when they were all having dinner together, and I don't know, I just kind of liked that they were, shooting at ideas between the two of them and all that.
Yeah, the parts where you have to directly compare it to the original is where it falls apart completely.
Yeah,
especially the music.
The music and like sort of the introductions of both characters. Just when there's direct comparisons, like Grandpa, what's his name?
Joe.
Grandpa Joe's better in the original. I think Charlie's better in the original. I think when he finds the golden ticket, the music dun 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 dun, dun and he's run home, Charlie. Like I don't know. There's just so much. As you can see, I know the movie like front to back.
You're a regular Kyle Lira.
Exactly. So whenever there's like direct comparisons between the two, the fucking what do you call it? The tunnel scene. It's like, why even have the tunnel scene in the remake? It was not. It was like a shitty Disney ride. Just skip that part altogether. But yeah, when they're doing their own thing, I kind of get it, right? I understand where they're coming from. Yeah, at the end where it's like Wonka has a family, because it's more of his story of growing and that stuff. Where it's like, okay, I can kind of see where they're going from. They should have changed it more. They should have done kind of
completely different in a way,
like what the Wonka movie did, where it's like get away from all comparisons, just sort of tell mostly your own story. I think they should have done that.
What did you guys think when they first announced that they're going to be doing a Wonka prequel? Because I felt like we were like,
I didn't think it was going to get made.
Yeah, we
thought it was like a bad idea. Like, really? Like, who wants this?
Anyone with a brain would think that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
and then did that perception change when Timothée Chalamet was cast?
No. The only thing that had it going for was the director. That it was the guy who directed Paddington was going to make this movie, and when I finally did see those movies after finding out about Wonka, I was like, he might have something here. Like there might be something still good here.
Shall we use that as a segue that actually works this time?
Was that after you saw the massive weight of an incredible talent or something?
No, I saw Paddington first, and then when I saw massive weight, I was like, I get you. Although for me, people say Paddington 2 is the best. I prefer the first one. I don't know. I think maybe 2 might have been overhyped.
It's fighting words on this side.
What happened? What'd you say?
Those are fighting words over here.
Oh, okay. It might have been overhyped. That's the thing for me.
Damn.
So we can talk about Paul King because he directed Wonka. We talk about his movies, the Paddington films, which are films that I am embarrassed to say that in 465 episodes of the show, we have not at all delved into those films, and that we were around for the release of both of those films, and we never gave the time of day.
So
that's on us.
Yeah,
I'm part of the problem. Yeah, I fully admit that.
It's on Paddington for being British. I'm sorry.
Oh God.
Our resident British correspondent Kyle Lira did not bring them to our attention, so we could not watch them.
He was too busy watching Doctor Who.
He was too busy watching Doctor Who for the 100th time.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but so much of a British correspondent, he couldn't even finish The Crown. Which, by the way, listeners, will be doing a review on that with Alexis pretty soon. So.
Oh yeah. No, but with Paddington though, like I mean, the trailers for it though, it just reminded me of like the movies that we were talking about before it. That we were kind of like, this is gonna probably going to be hit or miss. And back then I didn't really listen to a lot of reviews or anything like that. If I did, I probably would have been like, hey, maybe we should go try and watch it and all that. But back then I didn't, and I just kind of went comedy movie. I don't want to take that chance on that. So again, we're part of the problem.
Yeah, I just this yesterday and the day before I was watching the films, and I'm like, these are two of the best movies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
This is everything that I'm looking for in movies. I cannot believe. I hate myself for not having experienced those films in theaters because of how wonderful they are. Like there really isn't a single bad thing to say about either of them. You had a great cast of characters. You have a wonderful direction. The whimsy is there. The charm is there. The heart is there. But and the writing is there. But a different aspect that these kind of films usually lack is also there, and that is the craft, the filmmaking, the direction, the cinematography. It's all there in a way that makes this feel like cinema, like a full-blown cinematic expression of what these stories can be. They're just wonderful family films or wonderful children's films, but they're so joyous that it is what makes it a family film, is that anyone can enjoy them. And and you have an A-list cast, honestly, and I mean A-list for like British actors here, all over the place. I gotta say, I freaking loved them, and I hope we're not gonna fight to a bloodbath about whether we prefer Paddington or Paddington 2, but seemingly Peter's already pissed off. What's going on with that? But all I'll say is they're hilarious. They're also emotional and thrilling. I was so surprised by it. I kept thinking about it, and then I watched them again. So I've just been watching Paddington for the last couple of days on repeat. As a matter of fact, as the filming of this podcast, I was in the middle of finishing Paddington 2 again. And it's such a joyous movie. Brendan Gleeson and Hugh Grant in Paddington 2 are everything. Like, they're probably and some of the best performances I think they may have given. I apologize to this audience for never really bringing up those movies, because it's not that we weren't told, it's that we ignored it. I ignored them, the voices who were saying that this was great. Peter, I don't recall if you happen to be one of those voices. I suspect you probably were, and I seemingly have no recollection of that. So
I don't think I was. I don't think I ever.
Oh, the one time. Okay, never mind. I rescind my apology.
No. Well, I mean, it's just so much falls on deaf ears these days. I'm like, hey, watch this, watch that. It's like, only so much you can do. I can't tell you how many times I was like, hey, check out, I got the Myazaki collection. And it's like, apparently I was talking to a wall the whole time. So
I didn't know you had that collection in your hand.
You came over. I showed it to you. You held it in your hand.
Anyway, your thoughts on Paddington. In Paddington, it was so big in British culture. Paddington was one of the last people to meet the Queen.
Remember, you think he's the reason that?
Oh my God. She was 96. She was old. What do you think was going to happen?
Think he slipped something in her marmalade?
No, but the Queen Elizabeth never did anything like this. Like, she actually filmed something with Paddington. Like, that's
He's
pretty
a
big.
respectable gentleman.
Yes, he is. So, Peter, as much as it pains you to acknowledge British culture on any level whatsoever, Paddington. Come on.
No,
I'm sure you love these movies.
Oh yeah, of course. They're fantastic. Yeah. I love that. And like I said, no one does whimsy like Paul King.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, it feels like he's the last one that knows how to do it. It's insane. There's a reason why Paddington 2 was, other than The Godfather, or was it?
Citizen Kane. Yeah.
It was like the number 2 film with like the highest Rotten Tomatoes score. It was at 100% for a long time. Until one random reviewer had to be that guy and brought it down to 99. No, there's a reason for it. They're fantastic films. They're modern day family film classics. And a lot of people don't know about them stateside because they're more of a British thing, you know. Were they in theaters here?
Yes. Yeah.
And you know what? I think I remember. Okay, because I think I remember when the first one came out. Maybe
I remember when the second one came out, and I'll tell you why. Because the trailers. Wait a minute. Let me just double check. Do you remember that day we saw The Shape of Water and The Post with Kyle in San Diego? Was Paddington already out, or was it about to come out?
I have no fucking clue.
No, Paddington 2 came out January 2018 in the States, but over there it came out, I think, December 2017. So I'm thinking, I just remember Paddington 2 about to come out because the marketing was around that time. But January is also, I don't know, it's a weird time for movies in January because usually those are the months I'm trying to catch up on awards movies and everything.
Anyway, I remember the first one.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. The first one came out, and I was like, "Oh, don't care," because it's trailers and everything. It's like, oh, I've seen this movie 100 times, where it's like animated icon, but we're doing it live action, and it's kind of lame, and it's whatever, you know. Talking about the Tom and Jerry movie,
The Smurfs.
Yeah, and to me it's like, okay, Paddington is another notch in that list of those kinds of movies. So yeah, I didn't give a shit about the first one, and then I think I didn't watch it until the second one came out, and people were like, you know, absolute cinema. So I was like, okay, let me go back and watch them, and yeah, they're right. It's very different. And I guess it's kind of a similar experience to watching Wonka. Spoilers for my feelings. But yeah, the trailers were like, no, like not great. Where it's like, but then you watch it and you're like, oh, way better than what was being sold to me. Maybe there's something about Paul King's films that are very hard. Yeah, to market in a trailer for whatever reason.
Because a lot of people were saying that they did not like the Wonka trailers, that it really put them off.
Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, I watched that one. Of course I watched that one.
All right. But yeah, no. Paddington. The British did something right.
Anyways, so Paul King did Wonka, and he basically just made Paddington 3. That's the vibe of it. Yeah. But this is a full-blown musical. I'm just gonna look, this is not complicated at all. I loved Wonka. I'm
Wonka,
just putting it out there. Oh yeah, we got to introduce it.
directed by
Sorry.
Paul King. Every good thing in this world started with a dream. Willy Wonka, chock full of ideas and determined to change the world one delectable bite at a time, is proof that the best things in life begin with a dream. And if you're lucky enough to meet Willy Wonka, anything is possible. Starring Timmy Chalamet. And by the way, I just wanted to read you the first 3 reviews, the top 3 reviews on Letterboxd. Okay, here's the first one. Twinkie Wonka and the Twonka Factory. All right. Second one. Sometimes baby girl is just a twink who makes chocolate. And the third one, Timothee Chocolate. Those are the top 3 reviews of Wonka on Letterboxd.
Okay.
Anyway, I have to say it has been a long time since I have watched a film like this that was just so overwhelmingly, sweepingly joyous, and it also happened to be a musical as well. I feel like the performances all around are great. The production design, the writing especially, it's a beautiful story. There's an emotional tether to it. The supporting cast you actually care about. I gotta say, I even liked the stuff with Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa, which in the trailers didn't really look very promising, but somehow in the movie,
it looked terrible in the trailers.
It looked really like, red flags. But in the film, it ended up working. The villains were great. And I gotta say, having seen it twice now, it is a great musical. And I do, gotta say this. I think from now on, I'm not going to take seriously anymore people saying that, oh, I don't think the music was very memorable from just one viewing. Because I say that all the time with musicals. But then if you interact with the freaking songs and you go back and watch it again, you'll realize, oh, okay, some of them. But but hold on a minute. You're giving me that look.
You force feed yourself those soundtracks.
I don't force feed myself. I go out of my way to feed myself. There's a difference. You're saying that I have to, I'm forcing myself to like it. No, I actually want to listen to the songs. And with me, with any movie, if I watch a film, with any movie that I watch a film, I immediately play the score, because I know I'm different. I know how other people are going to do it. Other people are not obsessed with the music and films the way that I am, but it's just like, people were saying, even those that were liking it, well, the songs aren't that memorable. And I'm like, I don't know. I've kind of been singing all the songs these last few days, because I thought that in the film, they didn't feel like the best songs ever made, but they were good, and they worked really well within the movie and the story. But having gone back and seen it a second time, it works even better the second time over. And Timmy's actually really good singing. Let's say he's not the best singer, but you don't need to be with the key that he's singing. Even the choreography on some of them, like there was one, Peter, that was hilarious, Sweet Tooth with the villains.
Oh yeah,
that one was, yeah. I maybe there isn't too much to say, and I don't want to get into it too much because David hasn't seen it, and I think, David, you are going to see it at some point.
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't.
No, he hasn't.
Get that picture off your TV then.
So it just made me so happy. I was smiling like the whole time. By the end, I was like, this was great. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but in a way, I'm kind of surprised. I absolutely loved it. Peter.
Yeah, like I said, it's a really well made. Like we talked about for a long time, it's a long lost dying art. A really well made family film full of like whimsy and heart and feel goodery and music. And it's so sincere, without an ounce of cynicism, which is why it kind of doesn't feel like Willy Wonka.
Right.
But it's its own thing. I think if you try to like be like, well, it's not the way it's supposed to be, like absolutely you can say that. But if
Some people were saying that this version of Willy Wonka feels more like Mary Poppins, and to which I'm going to
for
say,
sure, yeah,
this is a better Mary Poppins movie than Mary Poppins Returns.
yes,
Honestly,
I
this
agree.
is the best non-Disney movie ever, basically.
Yeah, I think that's
honestly.
what started the conversation because I was like, oh, man, like because you see all those live action Disney remakes and they have none of the magic of what those original Disney movies were like. And this was the first movie in a long time that kind of reminded me of that magic of like that sort of childhood, or not child, but childlike innocence of magic and wonder and all that shit. And it's really well done. I don't know if I would agree with the songs being memorable.
But you haven't listened to them. I've been listening to them nonstop.
Okay.
That's the
I
thing.
know you force feed yourself the music.
I'm not saying that it's unfair for you to feel that way. It's entirely fair.
Yeah.
But you are right when you say I listen to them on repeat. So I'm gonna be that person where it's like, well, yeah, the more you listen to it, the more you interact with it, the more it's gonna stick with you. But I gotta tell you, it's like there's chocolate and there's chocolate. Like that's a little. It's been nonstop in my head.
That one's one of the better ones. I'll say that. But I think what makes it work the most is it has great choreography.
Yes.
When the songs are going, what's happening on screen is really fun.
It's not the same just listening to it. I will say, having seen it in the movie, the songs work better while you're watching the choreography and all the gags that are happening on the screen.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great gags.
Like in Paddington.
Yeah. Well, like the guy that's like he like goes to propose.
Yeah.
And then what does she ask him? Like I forgot what she asked.
Like she was saying, I'm looking for somebody who can give me like an exciting adventure. Can you be that person? And the guy was like, nope, and then just walks away.
And then it's like, oh, he ate the chocolate, and now he's he's adventurous because the chocolate is adventurous. Or the gag with like the bodyguard. It's like it's sort of multiple great jokes layered on top of each other. Because he gives them a chocolate of what's equivalent to a night out, and he like gets drunk and calls up a girl, and it's like, oh, the joke is like it's from 8th grade math or whatever, and it's like, oh, he's ridiculous. But then the female guard for the chocolate turns out to be that girl, and she's like, oh, I missed you from 8th grade math. So it's like funny, but it's also like heartwarming at the same time. Like it's that like no one is ever the butt of I don't know. It's there's not a mean-spirited bone in any of it.
There was a layer to the film. I don't know if it's too much to say it was risque. It wasn't, but there was elements of the humor where it very much kind of leaned a little bit on sexuality, which was interesting. But I kind of dug it though.
Well, I think the reason why it feels different or weird is just because American films have steered so far away from like ever acknowledging sexuality. Again, I think it comes from that whole like attract as many people possible to the blockbuster and stuff like that. But like I said, if you go back and you look at movies made
20 years ago,
that shit's normal. You know, like so much sexuality and sex has been removed from films, even from like kids films, or like
Well, I mean,
family or PG-13 films. Yeah.
remember when Hocus Pocus 2 came out, and like the most surprising thing for
Yeah.
me, I was like, man, they had the word virginity in it, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like that was
There's
the
a whole
most.
plot point where they're making fun of this kid because he's a virgin, and like
Mhm. Oh, and Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2, though, like when they brought up the fact the whole, lit
oh, I
by
didn't
a
see
virgin.
Hocus Pocus
Oh
too.
yeah, well they said that, like, they mentioned the fact it's like, oh, when it's lit by a virgin, that's when the witches come back and all that. And I mean, just the fact that they brought that up, I was like, I was
Yeah,
very
I'm surprised they didn't just avoid that plot
Mhm.
point.
But remember how
entirely.
but they made a whole thing of it. I think when I watched Hocus Pocus 2, I think a kid was asking, but
What's a
the
virgin?
movie makes a moment of it where the kid's asking what's a virgin, and all the adults look at each other. But the first film didn't even need to do that.
Mhm.
No, it's like you know what it is.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, like I don't know. I think sexuality was less of a, what do you call it? A taboo in movies and in the past.
Tell me
And like,
if you felt the same way about the villains. Do you feel like they were like the most overtly like gay coded villains you've seen in a long time?
Oh, I didn't get gay coded at all from them.
No,
I got eccentric. I did not get gay coded.
Eccentric. Well, maybe I should say flamboyant. Maybe I should say it that way. Flamboyant, not so
I don't
much
even
gay.
know if I would say flamboyant.
Well,
I
that
just feel
dance
like
number with
eccentric.
remember the dance number?
Yeah. No, I didn't get gay at all. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
It's because there was a dance number and they were basically being showgirls in one of the sequences because they were showing off their chocolate to the police officer. Yeah,
I
it's
wouldn't
funny.
say it's. I don't know. I didn't see that.
Okay, but did you catch one of them though when they're flying up in the air? And I think it was Matt Lucas. Matt Lucas, by the way, and David and I know Matt Lucas. Well, he's a well-known actor in British culture. But Matt Lucas played Nardole on Doctor Who in season 10. And Matt Lucas, because when Timothee Chalamet was saying that the little dragonfly things are going to fly out of their
butts.
And did he say bussy? No, seriously. I'm not even. He said it's going to fly out of our pussies. He said that shit. That was the line. Did you not catch that? I saw that shit twice, and I heard him say that.
We need to wait for that shit to come out on with the what do you call it? Not the closed captioning, but the subtitles. Because
you don't believe me?
I do not believe you.
I'll look out for it, but
it happened twice.
Wait. Okay. We
I
gotta
saw
wait
it because
for those subtitles.
the joke was it was gonna fly out of their buttholes, and then it cuts to him saying it's gonna fly out of our pussies. Well, what else was he gonna say? What other word is there that I'm missing?
Have a lot of weird words, and strong accents. It could have been something
I'll give you
to
that.
Put money on it. He did not say pussy.
If he did say that, what would you think of it?
The 10 out of 10 film. I think your mind is very obviously preoccupied on certain things, and I think
the two of us,
and then
who has used the word in context more often than the other one? You have referenced that many a time, and guess what?
It comes up sometimes.
I have the receipts.
It comes up.
I have the receipts.
Okay.
But
I'm not hearing it everywhere I go, I guess. Is just what I'm saying.
Who said I was either? It was like I heard it, okay? I know I heard it. What am I going to say? That I didn't hear and just ignore that it happened?
Maybe.
He either said pussy or pussy.
You know what? I cannot wait. For when it's out.
Well, David, it happens early on in the movie. You look out for it, and maybe it'll stick out to you, whatever. But
David, keep pussy on the mind, and if you hear it, let us know.
Anyway, the chocolate looked great. The choreography was great. Did you end up at a place where you were happy with Timothee?
Yeah, because he plays
His
almost
own.
a complete.
Yeah.
It's his own thing.
Yeah.
Was kind of like I basically said that with Johnny Depp's version,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like a lot of people hated it, and it's like, well, but if you view it in the terms of the story and how different that story is, then no, it works. Like his whole thing is like his mom, and like you said, it's more of a male Mary Poppins type thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
He's bright-eyed, and he has like this sort of pure soul, and everyone he interacts with, he makes their life better, and that kind of
It's Paddington.
character. Basically, yes, he is Paddington. So yeah, it's its own thing, and for that reason, I think it works.
A couple of things. Peter, if you liked Paddington,
yeah,
then you probably would like Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Probably.
Which, might I add, that David earlier this year booted Banshees of Inisherin
for
Mrs. Harris for his top 10 list of 2022.
Why is he still allowed on the podcast?
Banshees. Hey, he booted one British film for another, so I think that balances out.
He booted an Irish film.
That's
for
true,
a British film,
United
which makes
Kingdom,
it 50 times worse.
Oh,
do not mix the Irish with the British if you want an Irish.
There was a whole war about it, probably.
Yeah,
several wars at that.
Several famines.
But I think it's like, oh god, Paddington really is this, character that is just nice and brings that niceness and changes everybody's life around them.
Yeah.
That's Mrs. Harris. You love that movie.
I'll watch it eventually. Okay, I'll throw it on the list, and if and when I watch it, I'll surprise you and be like, "Hey, I watched that movie." Okay. Unlike you, I will get around to it.
Hey, that's really uncalled for. I got around to Myazaki.
It took him releasing his third final film for you to get to it.
That's not true. That's not true. We saw Mononoke first. All the facts on the table.
Yeah, a year after I had purchased you Mononoke on Blu-ray.
You told me that the songs in this movie were like, okay, but do you honestly feel like, I'm of the mind that Peaches barely counts as a song? You're telling me that none of these songs here are better than Peaches?
Quit your bitching. Listen, Peaches was a worldwide phenomenon. Parodied all over the world. You want to talk about memorable?
I can't even hum you the tune. I can't even.
Peaches.
That's not a song.
I just hummed it. All I'm saying is, it's a hit. It's a big fucking hit.
How would you feel if the Oscars came in that one Best Original Song?
I mean, I want that what do you call it? I want that Jack Black EGOT. So
I'm not saying Jack Black is not owed an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying this is barely qualifies as a song.
I know, but I'm saying if it happens, I want that Jack Black EGOT. I'm not gonna fight it.
And we're gonna watch The Color Purple pretty soon too, and that's gonna have better songs too. I'm just putting it out.
Presumably, yes.
Color Purple, which its review embargo lifted today. The reviews have been pretty good. It has like in the high 80s on Rotten Tomatoes. Why were they hiding this movie? I can't even tell you. So, David, I gotta just ask you real quick. What if anything have you made from our conversation on Wonka here? Is that pretty much what you've been hearing?
Yeah, pretty much, and it's pretty much what I expected. Again, same guy who made Paddington. I'm not that surprised that it's fun, family friendly, and has a nice story to it. So I'm excited. And I actually heard before too that people were saying that Timothy's Wonka it's its own thing. You can't really compare it to what's his name?
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder.
I think a lot of the negative reviews that I've seen come from people who are looking at it as related to that original performance. Because they're different versions of this character, and I think people were criticizing this newer version was like it lacked, I guess, in their view, the nuance or so.
Yeah, I mean that's understandable because I mean the trailer, the thing that me and Peter were like hitting on was the whole listen that I don't know what he got like.
And you know what? I'll argue in the movie, it still comes off not great.
What part?
What kind of chocolate you want? Absolutely nutty.
Oh yeah.
It's like sit your ass down. Okay.
But it's not really there. It's like that one moment, another one. It's like it's kind of like non-existent.
They show his worst moments, I would say, in the trailer.
Yeah,
I would say that. I do think they show his worst moments. Which again, I don't know why it's so hard to market Paul King's films, but
I agree with you. That's how I felt about it as well. But ultimately, I was very happy with it. I'm very happy to have a good musical. And I gotta say, it has, I guess, to an extent, an IP name, but $39 million for an opening weekend? It's pretty fucking good. It's pretty good for a musical. I'm hoping this, and internationally, it's done even better, the numbers. So I'm hoping that this also turns into a pretty decent hit. I'm also polling, of course, for Color Purple and see how that one does, right? Because that's also going to be a musical. So we're going to go ahead. I think we're done for today. For our listeners and viewers, for the next few weeks, we will be watching Aquaman and The Color Purple. If we have an opportunity to catch movies like The Iron Claw or Poor Things or American Fiction, we'll also definitely take advantage of that and come back on here and discuss those films. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, David. Thank you, the rest of you, for being here, listening and watching. Stay under our spotlight for more content and more, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.